This program is called Tips from the Pros. In this case, the pros are some of the best heavy equipment operators in the business. They've developed exceptional eye-to-hand coordination, making them experts at controlling their machines. They have the skills and experience to understand the big picture of a job and devise the most efficient way to get it done. You may know operators like this, or you may be one yourself. But the purpose of this program is to share the skills and expertise of the best operators. These tips from the pros may help you do your job better. We'll cover 4 areas: planning the job, trenching and backfilling, working a spoil pile, and lifting with the backhoe. The pros do something before they even get on the machine. They plan their job. Many operators get into the habit of focusing only on their small portion of the overall job. The pros say you'll be a better operator and you'll be called back for more work if you take the whole job into consideration. Consider the overall objective. Are you digging footings for a foundation that concrete trucks will need access to? If so, that will determine where you pile your spoil. Are other trades going to be working in your operating area? Their job will be easier if you keep the area flat and level. Make a simple list of your tasks and the order in which they should be done. As your work nears completion, think about the next phase of construction and plan the wrap-up of your work accordingly. Things like this may seem small, but they usually can be done very quickly and will pay dividends during the entire job. Walk the job site. Look for hazards like drop-offs, soft spots, power lines, potholes, and debris that could cut your tires. Of course, existing utilities must be marked on every job site, and if you're going to be crossing any known utility, you must verify its depth. This is done by carefully exposing it, usually by hand digging, and measuring the depth. Doing this every time you cross a utility will help ensure your personal safety and will save time and expense by reducing utility damage and service disruptions. During your pre-start walk-around, check fluid levels and keep an eye out for any loose parts or leaking components. A broken-down machine is not making money. Be suspicious if the person in charge of the job says, "Oh, just dig me a trench from here to there." Trenching is rarely this vague. Get clear instructions before you begin. The best way is to have the proposed excavation marked, especially with jobs like utility installation or footings. With the high cost of concrete and labor, a precise layout is very important to getting the job done right the first time. The best setup for backhoe work is when the stabilizers are spread to their maximum width or the widest platform possible, and when the loader bucket is in solid contact with the ground. If the front tires are carrying even some of the weight of the machine, it will bounce slightly, transmitting the bounce to the operator and directly into the controls. This causes the machine to shake even more. On turf, keep the bucket flat so it won't tear up the sod. For extra holding power, roll the bucket all the way over and dig in the cutting edge and spill plate. When trenching, one of the keys to productivity is maintaining the correct angle of the bucket teeth to the soil you're digging. Maximum force is achieved when you combine the hydraulic power of the boom, dipper, and bucket. Working together, these will provide more force than just curling the bucket or retracting the dipper. Good operators combine all 3 actions for maximum force while maintaining the correct bucket angle. When trenching, the goal is to try to shave the layers of soil off rather than gouge out chunks. Let the bucket teeth and cutting edge work for you. The teeth do the initial cutting by breaking the soil into pieces. The crumbling spoil begins to fill the bucket, and the curling action holds the spoil in the bucket. Working the bucket at this angle allows the teeth to crumble the soil with less friction than trying to force the cutting edge through the material. This shaving action will result in more stability in the trench walls too. In hard ground conditions or in asphalt or shale, a flat bucket position will generate the most cutting force. As you clear the trench, don't curl any more than you have to prevent spillage. Extra curling is extra movement, which means wasted time and fuel. Another tip we heard from the pros was the importance of knowing when to do precise work and when to just bale dirt. Some operators waste time trying to make every pass a finishing pass. Here's what the pros said. The first cut of a section should be shallow. Concentrate on the bucket, making sure the cut is in the exact location desired. This cut will guide all the remaining work, so take the time to make sure your first pass is accurate. Next, dig the trench down to within 6 inches of the desired grade. This is productivity time. Use all of your skills to really move dirt while, of course, maintaining control. Be careful, though. If there are unmarked utilities in the area, you must dig with extreme caution. Once you're within 6 inches of the desired grade, clean up the area next to the trench. By sliding the bucket flat on the surface, the spoil will either be pushed off into the spoil pile or will fall into the trench to be removed in the final grading. Also, now is the best time to remove any exposed rocks from the sidewalls that may be a fall hazard. Finally, take out the remaining few inches of material and fine grade the trench bottom. To recap, your first cut should focus on accuracy. The middle step is when you can really bale dirt. Third, clean up the top surface and sidewalls. And finally, do your finish grading. Remember, there are times to do finesse work and times to just bale dirt. Knowing when to do each leads to greater productivity. When digging, the machine has a tendency to be pulled backward due to the forces generated by the hydraulic system. Here are 2 ways to help prevent machine slide. First, move the machine closer to the work so that you are lifting up rather than pulling away. Second, try changing the horizontal angle of the machine by raising the front end with the loader bucket. This way, the machine pulls at a more severe angle into the ground rather than just skidding along the surface. You can use the stabilizers to level the machine on hillsides, allowing you to dig a flat-bottom trench. The stabilizers can be used to angle the machine to create sloped trench walls, which are less likely to slough off. Changing the angle of the machine creates a more aggressive bucket tooth angle for work in rocks and frost. Digging is only one part of the process. Another part is correct placement of the spoil. Avoid handling the material more than once. Place the spoil from the shallowest cut the furthest from the trench. The OSHA minimum distance for a spoil pile from the edge of a trench is 2 feet. If the soil is sandy or unstable because of nearby traffic, the distance should be greater than 2 feet. Watch a productive operator, and you'll notice that as soon as they finish dumping, they begin preparing for the next pass. The boom, bucket, and dipper are all being positioned during the swing back to the trench, so that by the time the bucket hits the dirt, the teeth are in the correct cutting position. It takes a lot of stick time to develop these skills. The pros make it look easy. The backhoe can be used to position the machine. Here it's being used to hold the machine's position on this slope until the stabilizers can be set. Pivoting the machine is quicker than repositioning it by driving it back and forth. It may be the only way to adjust the machine on a tight job. Raise the loader bucket before the pivot and set it back down before you resume digging. No trenching job is done until it's backfilled. This is usually a pretty straightforward job, but here are a few tips we learned from the experts. Be careful when backfilling utility lines. The old saying is that the fill material should fall like rain to slowly build up around and slide under the line to support it and prevent it from being knocked out of position. Remember to keep the machine's weight back away from the edge of the trench as much as possible. A machine working parallel to the trench is more likely to cause a cave-in than one working at an angle, like this. When you're finished, check to be sure the backfill is not spread off to the side of the excavation. All backfill should lie within the boundaries of the trench. This way, as the backfill settles, it will settle into the trench and not create a mound next to the trench. In side hill loader work, you can swing the backhoe uphill to help stabilize the unit. Working a spoil pile can mean either creating one or removing one. Let's look at a few tips. The next time you create or pick up a spoil pile, make use of a backup. A backup is anything you can push against that helps fill the bucket. For example, this chunk of concrete makes loading this pile easy. Careful truck positioning influences job productivity. Find a loading area that allows the trucks to drive forward, in and out. Backing a dump truck slows down the job and is a safety concern. If conditions are dry and dusty, set up so that the wind comes from the rear as the load is being dumped. This keeps dust out of your eyes. Position the truck at a 45-degree angle to the face of the spoil pile. This creates an efficient V pattern for the load dump cycle. A 90-degree angle requires extra travel and space to make the turn. Choose a loading pattern that allows the bucket to enter the pile and reach the dump box squarely and evenly. When loading the bucket, don't make your machine lift the same dirt twice. Here's what we mean. Keep the bucket flat, and as the bucket fills, curl back and lift up, rather than charge into the pile and lift. When you charge and lift, it forces the hydraulics to lift all of the dirt directly above the bucket. Most of this dirt will not wind up in your bucket anyway, because the bucket is already full. Fill the bucket, curl, and lift. This action moves the bucket lip backwards and saves you from having to lift this whole column of extra dirt. To get full, even loads in the bucket, the corners of the bucket should contact the pile at the same time. If one side of the bucket contacts the pile at an angle, the bucket will not be filled to capacity. When working a pile, work the points. There is less side resistance and bucket friction. Remember, try to fill the corners and the back of the bucket on every pass. To get more traction when loading with a four-wheel drive machine, try this. Move the bucket into the material as far as you can. Then raise the lift arms a little to put down pressure on the front axle. This will give a four-wheel drive unit more front-end traction. A reminder, in a two-wheel drive unit, down pressure on the front axle takes weight off the rear drive wheels, reducing traction. Keeping the site flat and level allows you to work to maximum efficiency. A good time to clean up spillage is between truck rotations. When trying to fill a low spot in a truck box, load the material in either the left or right half of the bucket and then dump. When loading a truck with a backhoe, you can gain a few extra inches of dump height by raising the machine with the stabilizers. However, it's important to realize that by doing this, you're reducing the width of the machine, affecting stability. Lifting with the backhoe can be a dangerous operation if not done right. Laborers are nearby, either hooking up the rigging or down in the trench, and the rigging gear on many job sites may be substandard. Backhoe lifting operations require extra attention. Start with good equipment. Inspect the gear. Don't use damaged or homemade rigs. Someone's life could be at stake. One of the handiest pieces of gear to have on the job is a heavy-duty synthetic sling with a choker hook. This is easy to wrap around objects like pipes and provides a convenient method to make the sling connection. A double wrap around the pipe provides even more surface contact with the load, resulting in better load control. Carefully consider how you connect the sling to the machine. Trying to correctly route chains or wire rope in and around the bucket and through the bucket teeth is confusing and can lead to slippage and sling damage. You're always better off connecting your sling directly to a pin or a hook that was designed for lifting. Once the load is rigged, attach a tag line. This helps control the load without putting anyone in harm's way. For detailed information on rigging and lifting, consult a rigging book, video, or reference guide. Ordering information is available at the end of the tape. There are hundreds of things good backhoe loader operators can do to make each job better, faster, and safer. In this program, we've only skimmed the surface. Each day on the job, you have an opportunity to upgrade your skills and learn a little bit more. Real pros never stop learning.